All right, hey everyone, welcome to Curtin Call. I'm here today with a very special guest. This gentleman sitting next to me is the jukebox hero himself. He's been doing this a long time. He's the original lead singer of Foreigner. He is an inductee of the Songwriter Hall of Fame. With Foreigner, they sold over 80 million records. We've heard all these songs over the years, been singing along to him over the years, and it's truly an honor to be here with him today. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to the legendary Lou Gramm. Lou, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. So let's get right into it. So basically, if you could take me back to growing up in Rochester, New York, I understand you had a father who had a big band, trumpet player.
Yes, absolutely.
And a mother who was a singer who was in the band. So I just wanted to know, growing up, and I understand you were drumming in your early years, so I wanted to know kind of talk to me a little bit about the household, what that was like, the dynamic there, and also when you discovered your voice.
From as long as I can remember, there was always music in the house. My dad had his jazz big band radio station playing all the time on the weekends when he was not working, and I'd hear my mom from the other room singing along to the radio, and my brothers and I would be playing, and that was kind of the backdrop to our lives to a certain degree. And my dad had his own big band in high school and afterwards, and my mom, after a number of auditions with a bunch of different vocalists, my mom became the singer in my dad's band, and that's how they met and fell in love. And so that band lasted until the late 40s, and then he got a real job, and they got married and started having kids. And so my dad then was working at a steel fabricating factory that made file cabinets and desks and everything, and my mom was the homemaker. And my dad would only play weekends in 3 or 4 piece small jazz combos. And I remember my mom, I remember vividly my mom being very angry that my dad would be coming home at 2 or 3 in the morning on nights that he had to work the next day and be at work at 7, ready to go.
Jeepers.
Yep. So she wasn't going for that because my dad was coming home exhausted, and it just wasn't cutting it. And my mom gave him the ultimatum that he had to put his horn down and be a full-time father. And he put his horn down for about 30 years.
Wow.
Yep.
So for you, you're drumming, right? At what age did you pick up the drums?
I like the drums. It really interested me. Not necessarily for ensemble rock or jazz.
Sure.
At that point. I was more interested in marching band.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. So at what age did you find your voice where you kind of said, wow, I got something here?
Well, while I was playing drums, I was also in the school choir. And I began to find my comfortable vocal range and was not afraid to sing out, and I got a few parts in different songs that the choir sang. It was a high school choir. It wasn't a church choir. No, okay. That they gave me a little chance to sing a lead in it, and I enjoyed the heck out of that,
Sure.
So I kept that in my back pocket.
Gotcha.
While still pursuing drums.
So eventually, you get into this band called Black Sheep right before Foreigner, and eventually you meet Mick Jones, and the Black Sheep breaks up, right? You leave Black Sheep. You go audition for Mick's new group, Foreigner, right, at the time. Do you remember that first audition, what you auditioned at that audition?
Yeah. We were in a studio.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the band playing and me singing. The band had recorded a couple of song ideas that Mick had. And Mick had the lyrics, showed me the lyrics, sang me the melody, and sent me out in the studio to sing it by myself, with the other tracks all recorded already. So it took a little getting used to, but I grasped it right away, and ultimately those audition recordings became our auditions for the record company. Yeah.
Interesting.
They were our demo tapes that the record company heard to see if they were interested.
So, can you talk to me about that debut album? Just, getting together with the group at that time. You're in the studio, and you're working on some of these songs. And I want to have you talk a little bit about "Cold as Ice," the writing process.
Oh yeah.
You and Mick getting together to write. What was that? What do you remember about the inspiration, and also kind of just recording that song?
I remember Mick came up with the idea and the basic lyrical thread, and I made my melodic and my lyrical contributions throughout the song, and it seemed to be pretty much straight ahead. But when we went into the studio to record it, we heard it back and we knew it needed something that wasn't in there yet. That's when we had the vocal breakdown, the cold, cold, cold,
oh, yeah,
as that wasn't part of the original song.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And after hearing the song through, we realized it needed something that would be like an attention grabber.
Yeah.
And Mick came up with that a cappella, "Cold as Ice," which was really. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it is.
But the guys in the band were trying to do the cold, 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 and something was always slightly off about
Sure.
it, And this was in like February. It was brutally cold. We were in Manhattan recording, and it got to the point that there was a flat note or somebody's timing was off, and we just stopped what we were doing. We got our coats on, and we walked around the block. And this was in Columbus Circle.
Sure.
So the New York blocks took about 45 minutes to walk around.
Wow.
Okay? And by that time, when we got back, we were freezing cold. We got in there, we took our coats off and got in front of the mics, and we nailed it the first time.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank
But
you
we
for
didn't want to
sharing
have
that.
to go for a walk again,
Oh, yeah. Can you tell me about hearing one of these songs for the first time on the radio when you heard
yeah.
your song? Take me back to that moment.
So we had finished the album.
Yeah.
Started doing promotion for it. Went around to the local New York stations, including WNEW with Scott Muni, who was the best. He was the man, And so we were now rehearsing to go on tour. And Dennis Elliott and I lived in Westchester. We didn't live in Manhattan. So we would ride with each other into the city. I was riding with Dennis into the city. He had an old Buick Riviera that was in beautiful shape, And so we're just start going down the West Side Highway, and all of a sudden we were listening to Annie W. and Scott Muni says, "Here's a new band, 3 Brits, 3 Americans. He said, wait till you hear this music." And he started Feels Like the First Time, and we went crazy, jumping up and down in the car. Dennis had to pull over to the side of the road and stop.
Wow.
It was an awesome moment, and I'll never forget that as long as I live. And
amazing.
It sounded so good, we turned it up.
Yeah, it still sounds great. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing. So, 1978, get the Double Vision album, one of my favorites. I think Double Vision and Foreigner 4 are my favorites. But anyway, inspiration behind Hot Blooded and Double Vision, which you co-wrote both. Want to have you tell the stories of those.
I think Hot Blooded is fairly self-explanatory. Yeah, it's a hunting song.
Sure.
And I think that the lyrics are about as suggestive as they can be without crossing the line,
Sure.
And with the beat and the guitar chord, rhythmic guitar chords and stuff, it was a very, very complete, full-on swagger song,
Sure.
and we really loved playing it.
Great song.
And I think Double Vision was Hot Blooded was more of my contributions, although it was written together with Mick. And I think Double Vision was more Mick's contributions, but we collaborated on that too.
Sure.
And that was also an awesome song. It was
Song.
high energy.
Oh yeah, it's a rocker.
Yes, it is. And the guitar parts on that song are just killer.
They are.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a good hit for us too.
Yeah. As I understand it, you were in the studio and you were watching a NHL game, right? And you kind of had the idea of Double Vision, right?
Well, Double Vision was we were singing the verses of the song and stuff and recording, but I didn't have a title yet. So when it came to the "Ooh, Double Vision," there was nothing there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I couldn't think of anything that made sense or that was very good. And in my vocal booth, I had a little 5-inch TV up there, and without the sound on, I was still watching the Rangers against Montreal in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we took a break, and I turned the volume up just as one of the Montreal Canadiens. The play was called dead, but he skated in front of John Davidson, the New York Rangers goalie, and high-sticked him, knocked him out cold. Okay. And the play was over. There was no call for that. So he was thrown out of the game. And John Davidson, the coaches and the trainers went over and helped him up and held on to him and skated him off and back into the dressing room there. And the game was continuing with the Rangers' second string goalie, and every now and then they give updates on John Davidson. And they said he's starting to feel a little better, but he's experiencing double vision. and I heard that, and I thought for about 2 seconds. I go, that's it. I said, that's it, because that made sense with the rest of the lyrics,
Sure.
And I just made sure that it made more sense by tapering the lyrics into the chorus a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was such an enlightened moment,
Sure.
And the guys loved it.
Yeah, that's a great album too. In the interest of time today, I'm going to skip around a little bit, but I want to move to the Foreigner 4 album. This is when the group goes from 6 to 4, right?
That's right.
You're working with Mutt Lange, right, who had done, AC/DC, some other things, right, and over the years worked with a ton of people, but he's got a very unique sound. So just wondering, I want to have you tell the stories of Jukebox Hero and Waiting for a Girl Like You. How did these come about, and what was it like working with Mutt? I understand you had to kind of put him in his place at one point.
Well, just a little bit. We got along very good. We had a real good exchange of ideas, and I was definitely on the same page, and he was too.
Sure.
But there was a point during Jukebox Hero where I think he was dreaming too much about AC/DC, and I wanted the verses to be very, very down low and slinky, and then
so it builds up.
Yeah, so it builds up.
Yeah.
He the verses which are like that. He wanted to have me screaming at the top of my lungs during the verses, and I says, Mutt, that's all well and good. I says, but I'm not Bon Scott. I says, I love the way he sings, but this song is not their song. Mm-hmm. I says, I like our songs to build with tension and then deliver on the chorus. And he didn't see it my way, but Mick chimed in and said that more or less said, we're not AC/DC, we want to do things our own way.
Yeah. And in terms of Jukebox Hero, how did you get the original idea for this song?
I remember getting it I was at home. I had a small little house and a little basement, and I had my drums set up, and I had a TX 4-track tape recorder, and a basic keyboard there, and I remember playing that doom on the keyboard, just as it's more of a rhythmic thing than anything, and I started telling the story, when it came to the took one guitar, I started flailing at the drums, and stuff like that, and that's about as far as I got. I didn't quite get to the Jukebox Hero part, but I brought that in and played it for Mick, and he really liked it, and then we started working on it together and took it to the Jukebox Hero, So it was good. It was basically my idea at the inception, and he contributed a lot as we went along.
Sure. Waiting for a Girl Like You have Thomas Dolby playing on that.
Yes.
Right? Talk to me a little bit about that song. Just what you remember, any special memories.
I remember the basic theme of the song, and from what Mick had written, and it was on almost like a Fender Rhodes or something, and the tempo of it and the melodic theme and stuff was very cool, and I remember that we didn't want it to be just a keyboard vocal kind of. We wanted it to be something slightly ethereal, but not ethereal as we know it. We wanted it to be on the edge of being out there, And so when we asked Thomas Dolby to be involved, we played him we sent him a tape of the basic song, and he started sending us back ideas. And some of them were good, and some of them were not so good. Then all of a sudden, this one comes, and our heads were spinning. It was such a different piece of ear candy that was. It really was outside of what the song was, but it went so good together with the song.
Sure. Sure.
That. It was almost like the Twilight Zone. It was awesome, and we asked them to expound on that, and really, he did such a fantastic job.
He did.
Yes, he did.
I saw a few years back, speaking of Virgin, because that was on 404, it was you, Mick, and Billy Joel at one of Billy Joel's Madison Square Garden shows. What was that moment like for you, being on stage with Billy and Mick? And performing that live.
It was awesome. It was so much fun. It was a sold-out audience.
Yeah.
And we were backstage, and I think it was an encore. And Billy introduced the two of us and brought us out, and the audience was going ballistic. And that was fun to hear.
Yeah.
And we played a couple songs, and the audience was very responsive, and Billy was just an awesome host. And Mark Rivera, who had played with Foreigner, was playing with Billy, and I knew a lot of the guys in Billy's band too. It was just it was like jamming with your friends.
It's a great moment.
It sure was. Never forget it.
Can you take me back to '84? Or whenever this was actually recorded, but I understand I Want to Know What Love Is. You were basically in the studio. You did that song pretty much yourself, right? In terms of the vocal take.
Yes, I did. That day was supposed to be the day when Mick and I worked on my lead vocal, the penultimate vocal for the song,
Sure.
It happened to be the same day that the choir came in.
The New Jersey Choir.
New Jersey Choir, and so Mick started working with them on how he wanted the choir to be and stuff like that, and that was very interesting. But the clock was ticking, and we had no vocal on that song. No real vocal on it. It had just been rough idea vocals. So I told Mick that I was going to take the other engineer and go in the smaller studio next door, still part of the studio, but just a different one, and work on the lead vocals. And he was okay with that, which surprised the heck out of me, because usually any vocal that I did, he wanted to be there. He wanted to interject his little can you do this, Lou? Can you do that, Lou? And stuff like that. But he felt that the choir was the way the choir came together and how they sang was so important that he and I Want to Know Love Is was his baby. Okay.
Sure.
He told me, "Yeah, go ahead, go in the studio with so and so, the other engineer, and sing the song." And I'm walking in there thinking, who is this guy? This is not the Mick I know, you know.
Sure.
But I did go in there and spent a good amount of time, and when I was done, we played the track to Mick, and he was very moved. I got no criticisms, no can you do this part over.
Sure.
You know, he was totally satisfied with it.
I think we all were too.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the choir obviously did a great job.
Oh,
as
they
well,
sure did.
You know,
And it was so awesome.
yeah, it's I saw a clip the other night. I think it was you performing that at Farm Aid in front of 80,000 people.
Yes.
And I just couldn't believe. I mean, what was that like for you to perform in front of 80,000 people?
It was fantastic. It was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Do you get nervous at all, or no?
By that time, not really.
No.
You know, a little nervous before you go on stage, but as soon as you begin walking on stage, that nervousness dissipates.
Sure. If you can take me to, eventually you depart Foreigner, you do your solo record, the first one with Midnight Blue. I want to have you share the story behind Midnight Blue. I love that song.
Thanks. Well, the first two solo albums, I was still with Foreigner.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Midnight Blue, I wrote with my good friend and bass player in my band, Bruce Turgan. He's a very prolific rock songwriter. Has written for a lot of different bands, and I came up with the guitar chord, and I don't know how to play guitar. I just came up with it. I was able to play it to him, so he could tell me what it was and play it for me. He ended up playing guitar on that song when we recorded it, and he's a bass player. So we recorded the song. We had Nils Lofgren playing on it. And Atlantic knew we were recording an album. After, I can't remember what tour it was. It was the Agent Provocateur tour. Mick, we were supposed to take like a 3 or 4 week break and then begin working on a new album. But that tour was so exhausting that Mick decided he was going to take his wife on a boat cruise around the world.
Jeez.
Okay?
Jeepers.
So we didn't see Mick for almost 5 months or 6 months. Maybe it was 6 months.
Sure.
And in that time, I had some songs written already, but there were more songs written, and I went in and recorded my first album and released it. And I was touring with Steve Miller. When I got the call from Mick, he goes, "Hey Lou, how's it going?" And I go, "Going good, Mick. Glad to hear you're back. Everything good?" "Yeah." He says, "Well, listen," he goes, "it's time for us to work on a new album. Can you remove yourself from the tour and come home and start writing with me?" I says, "Honestly, yeah, I could do that, Mick, but I learned from you that when you have an album release, you do anything and everything you can to have that album heard by as many people as you can, by promoting it, by performing it live." I says, "And that's exactly what I'm doing." I says, "I have another 2 months to go on this tour." I says, "And when that 2 months is over, I will come right back and we'll start working on the album."
Wow.
He did not like that answer.
Sure. So eventually, again, in the interest of time here today, in '97, you have this very serious brain tumor, right? And I've heard you talk about, for 5 or 6 years, you said you were living a nightmare. How did you get through all that? I mean,
it's something that's really inexplicable when you live a normal life and think and act normally, to suddenly have certain things in your brain that don't connect. Kind of leaves you in a condition that's worse than being stoned or overtired or something.
Sure.
You're just not functioning, you know. There were spots there were brain things that didn't connect, you know.
Yep.
Some of them because of the tumor, some of them because of the surgery, you know. And so it took, honestly, about 6 or 7 years before I started functioning normally.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get through it, though? I mean,
Honestly, when I went in for surgery, we were supposed to be in Japan
sure.
and the Far East touring.
Yeah.
As it turns out, we had to cancel about three months worth of shows. When my surgery was over, my surgeon told me he didn't want me performing for at least a year and a half. He says mostly because of the dB level, you know, the sound level might scramble things up there.
Interesting.
You know, he says you need to let all the things he did up there heal.
Yeah.
And then you can go back to doing that. I was on the road with Foreigner about a month to 6 weeks after my surgery. We were doing Japan, the Far East, Australia, and then home to do a U.S. tour.
Wow.
And it was living hell for me. I couldn't remember the words to songs that we had been playing for 15 years. I had to have cheat sheets in front of me. You know, I used to dance. I would dance around the stage, but my equilibrium was so bad after my operation that I had to plant myself there and pretty much not move.
Yeah.
And I had the first 2 or 3 words of each verse written on a piece of paper, and then the next song, and then the next song. I had like a semicircle around me of words. Not the whole words to the song, just the first 3 or 4 words to a verse. If I could see those and sing them, the rest of the verse would come to me.
Wow.
But it was freaking scary.
Well,
to be on
we're
stage.
happy you got through it.
Oh, yeah.
We're happy you're here today.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Yeah, thanks.
And we're
Appreciate
happy
it.
that you're out still doing what you love to do.
I'm enjoying myself a lot.
Really quick, just want to wrap up with this. I know you're a big car guy. What's new in your car world in terms of, have you made any new purchases?
I've actually, I'm starting to downsize my collection. Yeah, I had 7 cars. I sold 2 of them at the Mecum auctions.
Sure.
You've heard of those, right?
Yep.
But I also found a 1969 Firebird 400 in my city that a guy had just brought back from Arizona.
Nice.
And it needed a little work, but I got it at a good price, and my guy's painting it now and fixing up the few little things that need work, and it's going to be an awesome addition to my collection.
Nice. Well, listen, I just want to, on behalf of all the music lovers out there, just want to thank you for all the great years.
Oh, thanks so much.
Of music, and
I've enjoyed it.
We're all still enjoying it and singing along to it.
That's great.
And I wish I could sing as good as you, but still singing along to it. And
we've got new music that's coming out.
Oh, do you?
Either before the end of the year or early next year.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to look forward to that. Once again, thank you so much
You're
for
very
everything.
welcome.
And check Lou out online, Lou Gramm.
Hey, check me out.
Check him out. Check out any tour dates coming up, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much.